You do more work in the house than your husband. That's what we're going to cover today.
Leah, is that a question?
Huh?
We all do more work.
Way more work. And I actually looked at the statistics. It was
rhetorical question.
Yes, very good. Rhetorical question. So we are going to cover today what are we meant to do? You're doing more. You're doing the brunt of it. And every time you do this and you do that, and he's not doing anything.
Help. I do way more than hubby. What if you feel that you give more in the marriage and you are resenting it?
Okay, so
you're not happy
things
with
like that. If this happens in your household, please like us, do a thumbs up,
yes.
Put comments in. We're waiting on
yes.
it. Okay.
Me.
Meanwhile, we're going to start and take a look at this. So, what is the right way for things to be? Because if you were to ask every woman, do you do more housework than your husband? Everybody's going to say yes. Is this correct? Is this incorrect? So we first want to look at one very important question, which is the equality that we've been fighting for 50 years, right? Does that play a role in this, and should it play a role in this, and how should we feel about it? So I'm not a political person. I don't like to deal with politics. I don't like to, get into that, and I don't have the answers for the world on how the workplace should work and whether there should be equality and what the laws should be. That's not my area of expertise. What is my area of expertise is what's going on in the home. And in the home, in the workplace, equality is a very good measure of success. In other words, we should judge companies by how equal they are. Do they have the equal number of people in leading positions? Do they have equal number of contributions? Or is there bias against women? Those all need to be fought for in the courts, in the boardrooms, in the water cooler. That is a fight worthy of fighting. In home, the measure is not whether there's equality. In home, the measure is there shalom, is there peace? And that's what we want to be looking at. Okay, so we're going to learn today exactly. We got such quiet people here. You guys all here?
By the way, while you're taking a little quiet pause, Aliza on Instagram is on, and she just had a baby.
Oh,
a baby girl
that's fantastic.
2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Aliza. Her daughter, I told her, is going to be on the show with her so she could start training early
on how to be a good wife. There you go. Now you got it. You got it. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Thank you and welcome. So that's really cute in her maternity outfit. She's on the show.
When you're on maternity leave, this is what you do.
This is what you do. There you go. There you go. So the question is, if shalom, if peace is the correct measure for in the house? What does that mean? Does that mean that we should just do everything because our husband won't? So here's the question. I've got a couple of questions for you. Sarit, you ready? I'm going to ask you this question first. Okay,
yes.
You're on your toes here?
Yes, totally.
Okay. So the question is, how much, and this is for every woman to think about, how much of a perfectionist are you? How much of a perfectionist? In other words, it turns out when you take a look at the numbers and the research and you do surveys of men, the men's I really would like the house clean-ish, or not. And the woman is oh my gosh. Now, it happens to be in our general society, if a man helps around the house, he's a nice, clean guy. If the woman doesn't clean the house, she's looked at as a bad person, a bad wife. Our whole self-identity is if someone walks into our house and there's stuff all over the floor and whatever, it's we feel it personally reflects on us, not on the man. Is that fair? Probably not. Is that the way it is? 1,000%. So this causes a problem in us because how do we solve this issue? So, sorry, I've got this nasty cough. Okay. So let's look at some of the things that we need to think about while analyzing this situation. Number one is if you are a perfectionist, and you know who you are, okay, speaking from personal experience, okay, you have to solve two ways. You can either spend your life nagging your husband and badgering him, and why didn't you pick up the sweater, and why do you they think when they take a wet towel off and drop it on the bathroom floor, that somehow it magically, goes away. They don't recognize all the work that it takes just to run a household, just to be.
Magic?
Yeah, yes, not magic. It's not magic. That's right. It's right. It's right. So the issue is that there's a disparity between what a husband finds acceptable and what a wife finds acceptable. And that's pretty much across the board. They did studies on this, and there are people who kind of outliers on both things. Men who are particularly tidy, and also there's two things: there's cleanliness and tidiness. So where someone will tidy the whole kitchen, and then you go and there's gunk everywhere, and it's like nasty in the whatever, and things are sticky and whatever. But they think it's clean because it's tidy. And then there are other people who only care about cleanliness and how spotless it is. And if stuff is strewn all over the table, they could care less because it's clean. So there's differences in how we hold cleanliness and stuff, and there's differences in how we perceive it and what we want. So this has to be, again, if all of this is just a woman resenting and feeling angry at her husband about it, not very productive. This needs to be understood deeply from within ourselves of what we're, our perfectionist strategies. So what does this mean? This means that for you, if you're sitting there feeling very stressed out because the house isn't perfect, your immediate thought process can't go to, it's his fault.
Well, according to Rosemary, it is, since, oh my God, the towel, OMG, he still puts the wet towel on the bed. He's been doing it for over 25 years, and he doesn't stop.
Oh,
so Rosemary's
so
saying, yes, it is his fault.
It's his fault. Okay. I can feel you. I can feel you. So there is a solution to that. Buy a plastic bedcloth, okay? I mean,
This is what I remember from one of your first shiurim I ever went to, is you were like, the $5 solution. The hook by the wall for the coat on the floor, by the door, think.
Yeah. Things can be solved by $5.
Right.
So if
I
he's
love
doing
that
that, he's going to take a shower, what time he showers, or maybe it's different every day or whatever, but you could actually get a cute little, thing for the bottom of the bed and say, put your towel here. That probably he could do, hopefully, unless he's like, whatever. But, there's a lot of solutions in a marriage can be solved with $5. So the story that she's talking about, which I'll tell again, okay, is the story, a husband comes home and he walks in the door and he takes his coat and he throws it onto the couch. And the wife is like, I just spent all day cleaning the house and like the floor and you come in and one fell swoop, you throw it on the thing and the whole house looks like it's a mess. I sound like a frog. Hello. But whatever.
Anyway, very pretty frog. Beautiful nails.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice, yes.
Okay, thank you. But anyway, they match the actually pink phone.
They do. That's what I said.
Okay.
Really
So
good.
Anyway, he comes in, he throws the thing on the wife throws a fit. He says, "Oi, who are you talking to? I worked hard all day to earn money to buy things for you. What are you talking about?" And they have a going fight every day. She knows it's going to come. He knows he's going to do that. He knows he's going to do that. You think he feels good when she walks in the room and says, why you don't love me? I can tell because you didn't do this, right? You think that's the case? No, the case is that you have you have a man who doesn't get it, and hasn't changed in 20 years. For $5, she could buy a little coat hook by the door and hang it there. And he just walks in the door and hangs it there. The other thing, and if she says to him, listen, I want to buy a beautiful, they have this mahogany, what are those things called that you put coats on? Coat rack, thank you. They have mahogany coat rack. It's the Bed Bath & Beyond. It's beautiful. It's $100. She's like, I'm not spending $100 on no coat rack. Fine, get them. How about a $5 hook? So a lot of problems, including for this one, you can buy for $5, $10. You buy a pretty plastic thing like, what they have? They have now these things they fold up there for picnics. And one side is like furry nice for you to sit on. The other side is that goes to the grass. You put that on the grass. So maybe that's, it'll keep the thing dry. Or a little bag you put there like for swimsuits, that he can put in there. Whatever it is, again, I get your anger and you're upset, but a lot of the things, last week we talked a lot about it's not that the guy is thoughtless and doesn't love you. It's that he is clueless. So the cluelessness of this can be solved with $5. Okay, so let's go through a bunch of stuff that can be done to solve this.
Yeah, Linda says buy a metal hanging towel rack.
Oh,
And
that's
they're
good.
Not, and they're not expensive. So.
Well, where would you hang it? Would he? But see,
right? Would she hang it in the bedroom,
or
because he's not putting it back in the bathroom?
he's not walking back to the bathroom. That's for sure not happening. And he's probably needs it to walk into the bedroom. Whatever. So yeah, it's probably you're stuck with a bedroom. So the truth is, a rack in the those are the exact kind of solutions we're looking for. And again, if you're thinking of these solutions, pump them in, because the person whose problem it is they're just too mad to even think of solutions.
Yes, leave us your comments.
Leave us your comments. We want to hear what other solutions we have. Okay. So here's the thing: is to recognize our perfectionism. Speaking from a perfectionist type of person, our perfectionism doesn't give us the right to be angry at our husbands for not doing it the way we are. Now, here's how the stats look. In 1976, men did 6% of helping around the house. Now they do 12.5%. So they've doubled.
They've doubled. Wow.
They've doubled the amount of work that they do in the house.
And in Sarit's house, they do 67%.
Yeah.
Or maybe I need to flip that to 96%.
So your husband?
Yes, because I told you I'm
into-
a little bit of the man, and he's Leah, you know.
He makes
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Whatever works. As long as it works, then no conflicts, we're good. Not no conflicts, but little conflicts.
But Linda,
Okay.
by the way, said it's a hanging over the door one. You hang it over the door,
Oh,
and it has hooks.
love it.
Yes.
That
once-
can
and
go
then
kind
you
of like,
can- Yes,
yeah.
and you can hang the towel.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Linda.
Send us the link. We're
Yes,
good. We're
exactly.
good. Okay, fine. That's good. So the issue is that there has to be some understanding between you and your husband. It has to be, if there's the anger about it and there's fighting, that's not a good plan. So being less perfectionist, they also is to think ahead. So for instance, if doing the dishes makes you insane, right? Buy paper plates. Buy plastic cutlerware. I mean, it's not as good, and they do snap, and you have to get the good ones or whatever that are like fatter and more expensive or whatever that you can actually get into a piece of chicken. But from personal experience. So someone's gonna say, "Oh, you need to be an environmentalist," So let me just ask you a question. If God Himself came down and you were to ask Him, God, would you rather me have a fight about washing the dishes with my husband, or would you rather the environment have another 10 plastic forks and knives and paper? I don't know. I'm not a prophet. I don't know the answer to that, but my guess would be, if there is peace in your home, God can take care. God can do anything. He can make suddenly there's
Plastic
a new
disintegrate.
Yes, plastic disintegrate or whatever. Right. A tree can die for your shalom. I like that one. So the issue is that you have again, this is putting $5 here, $10 there for peace, because that nightly fight about the dishes. I had a student once, and she was telling me that, every night it was the dishes, and they would finish. They had this deal. She went and bought the groceries, brought them home, cooked the dinner, put the food away, did everything. His only job out of the 20 things that take to put the meal on the table, his only job was to do the dishes. They would finish the dishes and say, "Let me just check my emails. Oh, I'm going to read a book to the kids before they go to bed," whatever. And for 2 hours, there was this I'm going to kill him. And meanwhile, the egg is hardening on the dishes and everything's getting coagulated and disgusting, okay? So what did she do? She made a priority of what's really, really important to her. What does she really need from her husband? Doing the dishes was not even one of them. Mm-hmm. And she traded off. It was an emotional thing she needed. She felt like sometimes during the day she'd get all stressed out. She had a very high stress job, even though it was only, I remember it was a couple of years ago. It was like 20 or 30 hours a week, but it was very high stress. So sometimes she wanted to call him and to say, and she needed to just babble for 5 minutes and tell him what was wrong. And a lot of times he wouldn't answer the phone. He wouldn't take it. He'd realized that she was not there. So not there, but he wasn't really present, or he didn't pick up at all. So she realized that was really, really important to her. So she traded him doing the dishes for that. He's like, really? Like, that's it I have to do? And she said 2 things happened. One is he was always there for her when she needed him emotionally. That's first of all. And second of all, the dishes, which prior, when he was doing them, besides the 2 hours of stress, she would come and they would be like this caked on stuff on that. He wasn't doing them the way she would do the dishes. And it took him like 25 minutes to do the dishes. It took her like 10 just because she had systems, whatever. So we have to really be very careful of what we want. Our husbands capable of giving us other stuff. We're fighting about what we think they should do, and it should be equal and it should be fair, etc. When the real truth is that there are other things that our husband can provide for us that would even be more valuable to us. So think about these things. Again, what we're trying to do is when you have a stressful situation, and water is pouring in and it keeps going and going and going, it's going to overflow, and there's going to be a conflict, there's going to be stress, there's going to be screaming, there's going to be something bad, okay? So you can either pour less water in, which means reducing your expectations, or raise the cup so that it can hold more. So raising the cup would pouring less in would be having less expectations of your husband, and raising the cup means, look, I had a woman recently who her husband said he didn't feel like he was there for her. This is a student. She was I think she was on our show a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah. Her husband always felt like he didn't do enough for her. And she didn't do enough for him. She was busy taking care of her mother, actually. But anyway, see the show it was awesome, about mother-in-laws and mothers and interfering into your life and whatever. But anyway, but one of the things is she would do the dishes instead of going. He would be exhausted. He'd be heading into bed and say, "Come, let's schmooze before bed," and whatever. She would stay and do the dishes for 45 minutes, and she'd come to bed and he'd be fast asleep, and he never got a chance to talk to her. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. And we all have our own ability of what we can do. But it seems to me like if she worked on going to bed with dirty dishes, soak them. Get a stopper. If you don't have a stopper, again, it's $5 thing. The $5 solution. Get a stopper. Fill the sink with sudsy water. Put the dishes in, and tomorrow they'll be much easier to clean than they would be now. They'll be almost practically done by themselves. But whatever. Or use paper plates. But Shalom Bayis shouldn't be the last thing on our list. Okay. We have any questions?
No, but Eliza said, "Wow, this is so true." So
thanks, Eliza.
Yeah,
okay, good.
And
just these little. I'm giving a lot. I'm going to give a lot of tips instead of like one grand solution. The first thing is to change your mindset from feeling like it has to be equal, because we've been sold that by a bill of goods. I bet you, if I were to poll everybody. And everyone in this room and everyone on the listening, all of our listeners or watchers, whatever, and I were to ask you, do you mind doing a little more than your husband if he got the appreciation you needed? No, actually, So it's not a question of equality. That we've been sold a bill of goods that everything has to be equal, and it's not true. We actually wouldn't mind it. So the next point is getting the appreciation we need. This is crucial to our own sense of self-worth and our own sense. Now, wait, I'm not doing it so that he'll like me or that he'll think I'm great. I'm doing it because it has to get done. Well, let me tell you, want to know to make a car go, you stick gas in it, okay? To make you go, you stick appreciation in it. If you are there, excuse me, if you're there, and you're folding all the laundry, this and that, and your husband doesn't appreciate it. He's folding one little sock and tucking it into the other becomes a source of resentment and anger. Yet, if your husband appreciates what he says, "Oh, you're the best cook. I can't believe how hard you work. I can't believe how long you were in the kitchen. You're just the best, and everything tastes so delicious. Can you make that chicken again? That was so yummy." If you are appreciated for what you do, you can stay up till 3 a.m. making cookles because you're, making another a cake and I don't know, whatever, how talented you are, whatever. You can do a lot when it's appreciated. So what do you do? And we have a lot of classes on this. You can check our archives. Is that what we calling them archives now?
Yeah,
okay, whatever.
Library.
Our digital libraive. Thank you. Okay, so
our digital library.
Okay, there we go.
And
okay,
working
fine.
material
and
to check out.
Right. Okay, so I have a lot of stuff on appreciation, and here's the thing. If you don't get the appreciation, your husband does not know how to give appreciation, don't be mad at your husband. Right. They were born that way. They do not know how to give appreciation. Some of them were raised by moms who maybe taught them a little bit, but maybe they're at the 5% level, okay? This is an ongoing thing. It's not like you're going to teach them and train them and suddenly they're going to be being able to get the character trait of appreciating. They won't. It's for the rest of our lives, we need to show them. what we do so that they can appreciate it. And again, there's a lot of tactics to do this, but one is saying, just so you know, I spent all day I did 3 loads of laundry today. I got the grocery shopping. Plus, so-and-so was upset, and I spent an hour on the phone helping them with whatever. And plus, at work, I had, 4 people who were complaining, and I got them all, where they need to be, and blah, 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 blah. You don't need to fix anything. I just need you to say, oh, my goodness, you're unbelievable. You're awesome. Best wife ever. Okay?
That's some of my favorite advice from Leah Richeimer, by the way. I remember that forever from your first classes you were doing. Feed him a line. You would say just give him a line. My favorite.
Right, and he'll be thrilled that he gets off the hook that easy. Like you can even, and we have this whole thing about doing a ventriloquist where you say, when he says, oh, that was a nice meal and you spent a week cooking and whatever and all day in the kitchen. Oh, that was a nice meal. Like, no, what you meant to say is, oh my goodness, dear, that was the most delicious food I ever tasted. That chicken soup was incredible. That fish, oh my goodness. And he'll go, yeah, dear, that's right. Now, you got to know your husband and what's going to work with your husband, but getting the appreciation isn't a demanding, selfish thing to do. It's your obligation to do, to get the appreciation you need. Okay, let's get some more. Okay. Getting household duties, and they're still not equal or whatever. And it turns out, can I tell you something very creepy? I don't know what to make of this or what advice it is, but it's just a fact you should know that they did a study, and the husbands who did equal amount of works to their wives had much higher divorce rate.
Right. What? Alarming.
Yeah. Is that insane?
Yeah.
Isn't
but
that?
not husbands who did more work than their wives.
No, whatever. Yeah, right. Right. That's so funny. But I mean, look, there's outliers. You're maybe an outlier. But the issue is that you have and I think
it's demeaning. You told us, it's very hard on a man to do that type of stuff. It's
hard, especially when a lot of women, they say, look, my husband's unemployed, so while he's home, he should do, let him help out a little bit more. And it's like, can you imagine? He lost his job. He feels like nobody. He feels like nothing. He feels like he's completely invisible and useless human being. And now, to top it off, he's also cleaning the toilet.
Now scrub my floors.
And scrub, right. It's just, no, your husband's unemployed. You bump up your amount of work that you do. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. You want happiness in your house and you want your husband to be whole. That's the way to do it. You want to make your husband equal in the household and to do more stuff. He'll take 10 times longer to get a job. I'm just telling you right now, because a man getting a job depends on his self-esteem, and it just goes down the tubes. I don't know. Maybe it's the society, and we should try and save society. That's not my job. My job is to make you into a happy wife, to give you a more gorgeous life, and to make your closeness beyond. That's my job, and this is the way to do it. Don't let your husband ever have a situation where he's unemployed and he's doing menial tasks. It's very torturous. Okay.
Yeah, Rosemary actually says that she soaks her dishes, and she agrees because quality time is just more important. So if her husband wants to spend time with her, it's like Good. It's not even, she's married 25 years. So
good for you. She's got it down.
Yeah.
So it's good. Now, the other issue about having your husband do more
housework.
Doing more housework is that it's actually this brings us to our next topic, which is paying for help. So sometimes very hard, whatever it is per hour, and it seems to be like, I can't believe a babysitter's getting. Hello, are you serious? Really? Yeah.
Babysitter who sits and does nothing because the kids are sleeping and is raiding your pantry and reading a book and is getting paid more than a housekeeper who's nonstop working. Sometimes I know it's gone crazy.
Crazy. But anyway, okay, So people have this big thing, well, listen, I can't afford it. I can't, it's too expensive to get in household help, or it's, to get to mow the lawn or whatever. I want him to mow the lawn, and he should mow the lawn, and my father mowed the lawn. What's wrong with him? And, whatever it is, whatever's inside our brain. But then somehow we find the money to buy the pink shoes or the, obviously, there's a little cosmetic bag with cute little cosmetic bags inside, whatever it is, we're there. So I'm not saying people have it hard and there's struggles and, those who absolutely can't. I'm just talking about prioritizing. So you have to know for yourself. But recognize one thing: when you have something, you bought, a new cosmetic bag, let's say, and you get pleasure from it. But then you go and you're angry at your husband because he's, I'm just trying to think of, he's not fixing the lock on the back door, and it jiggles, and every time, and you shut the door, and every time you're so annoyed. Oh, I'll fix it this weekend, next weekend. Tomorrow, I'm definitely, oh, well, I didn't have the right size screwdriver, so I ordered it, and it'll come in a few days, and it just never gets done, and you're just gonna, whatever. So yes, you get a pleasure from the cosmetic bag or from something you need. I mean, maybe it's a sweater. Maybe you need a sweater at work. You don't have one that has sleeves that are short enough to be able to push up so you can get your work done. Or whatever it is, you needed a certain thing. Is the aggravation by not having that thing the same as the aggravation you get with your husband? And we just know our Masorah, our 3,000-year track record of success says, if you put your husband first, a lot of the other issues that are troubling you and bothering you will be solved by themselves. So, for instance, if you say, you know what, I really need the sweater for work because I'm cold in work, but I realize this weekend is going to be miserable if he doesn't fix the door. So I'm going to hire the guy for $60 to come, fix the door. And God, please help me. So guess what? You go to work the next week, and your boss comes and says, oh, the guy fixed the heating system, and now you just press this little button here, and whatever degree you want 72 degrees, 73 degrees, you want it, whatever you want, just press that button. Is that within God's ability to do? Obviously. So you have to think about what you do, what you do to make peace in your home is going to have God swoop down and take care of you. Not every time, and it's not guaranteed. Well, it is guaranteed, actually. Actually, I do have sources. It is guaranteed it'll help you. Is it guaranteed you'll see what God did? No, but it is guaranteed it'll help you. So it might be that, the next day, you were supposed to, God forbid, get in a car crash, and God saved you from the car crash. And, that's a real thing. He saved you. You didn't know that you were supposed to spend 2 weeks in a sling, or a month in a what's that called? Cast or something like that.
You wouldn't be able to even put your hand in the sweater.
You wouldn't even put your hand in the sweater, right,
exactly.
okay? But because you did that thing, God will, because you focused on shalom and peace in your home, because you did that, God will take care of you, and that is a guarantee. Okay.
Elise actually said that she bought plasticware before she gave birth because she knew that postpartum she didn't want to get frustrated about housework, and obviously her husband is not going to.
Fantastic.
Do as much, and now so she's like, pull out the plastic.
Pull out the plastic, and you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, good. Okay. By the way, another thing that if you for Shabbos, many people don't like to use plastic, whatever. A lot of people do. So don't. It depends on how many kids you have and what your life is. If you're a full-time worker, you're not a full-time worker. But there are you can buy now, like from restaurant supply houses, you can buy enough dishes to last you for every meal on Shabbos. Mm-hmm. Like if you have 20 people, so you buy a set of 70. Right? And that means everything goes in the dishwasher after Shabbos. You don't have to wash between meals, whatever. And those kind of, again, $5, maybe that's $20 or something like that to save you from having to stand there on Shabbos, having to stand there and do the dishes and be annoyed with your husband. That's not what God wants.
You told us in a class moons ago that you can create like a Shalom Bayis fund, you called it.
Yeah. Oh, good. I love it. They
yes,
remember my,
I love it. I remember that because I'm like, I need the Shalom Bayis fund.
Yeah, that there's some things that, when you put aside some money for certain things, and it's like he wants he squeezed the toothpaste from the middle of the thing, and you're like, argh! So guess what? You buy two things of toothpaste, and you buy, whatever it is, you have some extra wiggle room that allows you to do things so that there's peace. Because there's a lot of, when you're living under the roof with somebody, I'm sorry, I don't care, the nicest people, the most wonderful husband, the most wonderful wife, it doesn't, you're living under the same roof, and they're going to do stuff that's going to annoy you. And if you're in a mood, which I'm sure is very rare for us, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, right, that's a mood. So, when you're in a mood, whatever they do is going to be wrong. So, again, Shalom Bayis fund. Thank you for reminding me of that one.
I like to say you can't afford not to spend on your Shalom Bayis.
There you go. I like that. It's good. Okay. So a couple of things. has to be figured out what the duties should be. So having clarity about that, and again, this greatly depends. If both of you are full-time, have full-time jobs, then it's a little different than if you're a stay-at-home mom and now maybe your job is harder than a full-time. That could be true. But in any case, if you're at home all day and your husband is at work all day, the division of labor is different. But let's say you both work full time. Do you want to know something? There's another weird, quaky, crazy statistic is that stay-at-home dads, the full-time working breadwinner mom or wife spends 45 minutes more per week cleaning than the stay-at-home dad.
That's
insane.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Very insane.
They don't notice the dust in the corner.
They don't.
Of course they don't.
Oh, hold on a sec. Here we go.
called
Okay,
selective
we're gonna have a
watermelon
fun time here.
empty
Okay,
seed.
hold on.
Owen.
I got an empty
No,
box.
you need to aim it that
At
way.
the girls? Okay,
Yes,
hold on a second.
at our audience
At our
over
audience.
there, not at me. It's always I'm like duck.
Okay,
They are
all right.
gonna duck.
Okay, it doesn't make it crash.
Yeah, it did. Whoa.
Right back at me.
And that's what you just saw when you throw it. No.
You have to right back at me. Almost hit me. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Fine. Okay. Let's go. So if your husband's working, and people who've never watched a show before, like, what just happened?
Yeah,
like
that was the water
that was
bottle
the water
throw,
bottle throw.
ladies.
There we go. Okay, fine. So now the thing is, if you're working, you're a stay-at-home mom or whatever, or you're both working full-time or whatever, all of these things have to be discussed. What are the expectations? Now you're going to notice things that your husband's not going to notice. Women are, again, because their self-esteem and their identity, if someone walks in the house and the house is a mess, they're not thinking, oh, that husband's a real slob. They're thinking, oh, doesn't the wife even notice? Isn't that sad?
Our fault if it's a mess.
I know. And they're the one who, who's in the boots? I spilled water all over. Okay, here. Thank you. This is a live show, Leah. Don't you realize?
No, it's okay.
So
Good. That just shows that.
That proves.
We're already
Okay,
finding
we
that little
edited
water
out.
that's on
Okay,
the.
fine.
You noticed it.
Okay,
Nobody
right,
else
there we
would.
go. Okay. So anyway, no, I just didn't want to slip or something, some slip and fall. If I stood on the table, that could happen, Anyway, so the issue is that there has to be a clarity about who is doing what in the household. And again, because the husband doesn't notice it and the woman feels her personal identity is determined by it, it needs to be clear. Now, it could be that the husband wants to do the garbage or he hates doing the garbage or whatever. You have to figure out what our traditional is. Very funny because I have people who want they want equality, but they also then, when it comes to traditional things, he should mow the lawn because it's the man's thing to do. Like
He should open the door.
right, he should open the
take
door.
out the garbage.
Like ladies, you have to, you can't have it both ways. You have to, if it's going to be equal, then you have to start taking the garbage out to the sidewalk, right? Or better yet, hire somebody. It turns out both in the Jewish tradition as well as in the what's the word I'm looking for, in the statistics in scientific world, that when paying for duties to be done, paying for laundry services, paying for a cleaner to come in to do the bathrooms and the heavy lifting, let's call it, okay? Paying for that turns out across the board to be the best use of money. That when people have material things, they get a certain satisfaction for a certain amount of time. But services do two things. Number one, they allow you to have that not be angry at the other person for not doing their fair share. And the second thing is they allowed a couple to spend more quality time together, which is crucial. So again, this just talks about readjusting your budget. Now, I do have a very well-to-do couple, and the wife said, she wants to get housekeeping help. She just spends an inordinate amount of time every day cleaning, and they could afford it. He was like, no, this is a wife's thing. I don't want some other person making my bed and like folding my laundry. It just feels uncomfortable and whatever. And that's how he felt. Poor guy. Look at the look on Sarit's face. Like, what?
Because he's not offering to do it himself. No, exactly.
So what did she do? She brought him to me, and I wagged my finger at him, like, come on. And he said, well, she's not working. I said, yeah, but she, if you couldn't afford it and it didn't trouble her, okay. And then she enjoyed whatever. Who enjoys well? I mean, there's some things that housework that's enjoyable,
but to know that's a service you provide.
There you go.
Yeah. If you need to bring your husband over, Leah's available. She will wag her finger at him.
Oh my gosh! Don't get me started. No, but they were actually there for many different things. But that was one topic that I brought up, and I said, well, your personal bias against it is lovely, but it doesn't affect you whether it is or isn't. And this is something that makes her feel all her friends have. If her friends didn't have, whatever, and everybody was doing, but all her friends had housekeepers except her, and again, they could well afford it, and so you have to understand, men are coming from a different place. They have different priorities, and these have to be discussed. So you have my permission to say, listen, we're always fighting about doing the dishes, or we're always arguing about, who should straighten up or whatever. I would like to or who should do the heavy clean, the bathrooms and the sweeping under the beds and dust bunnies the size of a golf ball. No, not golf ball. What's football or whatever. We've got these issues. I would like to allocate, X amount of dollars per month to solve this problem. And the husband like, no, it's a waste of money and blah, blah, blah. And, and you're going to have a conversation and say, look, I feel stress at you. I'm blaming you, and I'm taking it out on you, and I'm nagging you to change the light bulb. If I had a housekeeper here Tuesday afternoons, once a week, or Tuesday and Friday, whatever it is, if I had somebody here, I would tell them to do the light bulb and be off your case. And when you come home, they're just saying, by the way, did you notice you tripped up the stairs coming here because there's no light on the front porch? Hello? Instead of yelling at you when you walk in the door, I'm going to greet you warmly because the light bulb's going to be done. And I think it's a good use of our money. And we have a Masorah for it, which is that, providing, and it's, there are many sources for household help. Again, if you don't take my word for it, ask your clergyman, your local Orthodox rabbi, anybody who you turn to for this kind of advice and say, is this appropriate? Again, you have to look at your finances, squeeze out somewhere and squeeze in somewhere else, take even less vacations. It seems to be that money spent on services, household services, tend to be the biggest bang for the buck in terms of peace in the home. So.
Yeah, well, Leah, actually, it's something that I thank my mother-in-law for all the time, because they didn't have a lot of money, because my father-in-law was in psychology school and she was working, and they really didn't have the money, and they couldn't afford help and all the extras. So it was my husband, even from a young age, from like 5, 6 or whatever it was, had chores, and he grew up doing things in the house, making dinners on the nights that she could not make dinner. He would sister's hair in the morning and get them off to school. But I want to tell you something. I've seen the beauty of it so much more, because he's so comfortable in certain things. Like, he just goes into it without even thinking. Where I see friends of mine who, they will get upset at their husband, but their kids are sitting around doing nothing, and they will not ask their children to lift a finger. No, I can't ask my children. What? They're not my slaves. I'm not asking. And I'm like, but you're treating your husband right.
Wow.
Right. So it opened up my mind. Yeah, no, it opened up my mind to that I now have my kids do a lot more. Like, my son does breaking down the boxes in the garbage, and my other son does, like, they do different things that I give them because of her. Yeah, because we didn't do anything at home.
Favor to their future spouses also, because they're going to be used to this stuff.
Yeah, because I came from a home where we didn't do anything. My father had to basically, him and my mother, and we were sort of, we were the children who didn't have to do much. So it was, yeah.
So learning chores, that's another, again, this is more solutions, creative solutions for this problem. It's not like this one size fits all, and you do this and that'll solve it. This is, you do a little bit of chores with the kids, you do a little bit of talking to your husband about getting more help, or how you want to spend the budget. Maybe you're in charge of the budget. You don't need to talk to your husband, and you're like, you know what, that's true. I spend a little too much on Sephora or whatever it is. Whatever you're doing, like, I'm gonna put the finances in here. So, but all of these little things nip away so that this problem can be. So you can have more shalom, more peace in your home. Okay, fine. Let me just see what else we have. Okay. When your husband, so we're talking about doing these, getting your husband to do stuff more. Okay, let's say you want to get him to do more. You have to ask yourself one question. when your husband does something, are you complimenting him or criticizing him? So if every time he does something, oh, you missed that dish, and oh, you need to put a new bag in the garbage. It doesn't really, you're standing there with dripping eggs and whatever, you're trying to throw it away, and he took a new bag in. Are you like and yelling at him? Giving him disapproval, criticizing how he does things. He washes the dishes wrong. You ask him to do the car, and then you get into the car, and he vacuumed all the floors, but there's like a layer of dust this thick on the whatever. That is going to make a huge difference on his contribution and his participation. And I bet your husband's mom, from a young age, was like, "Oh, good job!"
By the way, she did. He made like orange chicken once with like oranges on top, but like tons of oranges. The whole thing was oranges with like maybe a little chicken. And she's like, "This is delicious." And he's like, "Never again." But yeah, she was very. Whatever he did, she was like, "I'm accepting and receiving
sounds like a
it."
good recipe. That's
No,
nice.
yeah.
Hello.
No. It shouldn't have been called chicken. It should have been called orange.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So you just have to think about what if someone were that with you, right? And that you were to trying to be helping somebody out. What would you want to hear? Would you want to hear, you did something like, oh, you typed that wrong and you did this wrong and the thing in the envelope doesn't go on the outside and then you need a stamp and whatever. And they're constantly criticizing you of what you did. And let me tell you, we are micromanagers extraordinaire. We are by nature. Most women are by nature micromanagers, and then they spend all of their daily life with their children micromanaging everything they do. So, of course, when their husband comes along, what are they going to do? They're going to micromanage and say how they did it, whether they did it well. Everything that wasn't perfect, they're going to point out. So how motivated, ladies, is that husband going to be to continue? Not. Right.
The answer is not.
So what you have to understand is that you want to be building his strengths, not increasing his weaknesses and not pointing out all the things he does wrong. This is going to make a huge difference on his desire to be helpful. And you have to make the decision in your mind before you ask your husband to do something. Like you see that there's a chair. You get a chair and you need to put the legs on it, and you're like, it needs a good whatever. But from prior experience that he's gonna stick the thing in and he's gonna twist them, but he's not gonna do that final, So the leg's gonna be a little jiggly, and that's how he does things. Because he just, whatever, he's maybe more creative type, or he's not a really good builder or whatever. Setting yourself up for failure of asking him to do it. That's what you're just setting yourself up for failure. So it's kind of like knowing your husband, know yourself, or have him do it, and then you go after and tighten them or whatever it is, But the point is, can you turn that down? That's going to get massively noisy. Maybe you stay there. Maybe I'm sorry. Can one of the girls just hit?
Yes, up came the air. We do live in LA, guys.
Up.
Yeah.
Hit like up several times, and it'll turn on. So this will be noisy for about a minute.
Yeah. No. Well, Rosemary actually said that it's becoming more aware also of what your husband does, because for example, he brings her lunch and she sort of like took it for granted and didn't say thank you, but she said
she brings him lunch?
He brings her lunch.
He just brought
her lunch, and she'll usually not say thanks. Just she's like doing something, whatever, you don't always. And she said she just did, because the more. And the Poem Princess said it reinforces the positive behavior.
That's exactly
And also
it.
adding, the Poem Princess, the Poem Princess said not only saying thank you, but saying, in quotes, "It really shows me you care for me."
Oh, I like that.
I do that. I feel so loved right now. You can even do a little twirl, like you feel like a princess.
I feel so loved right now. That's perfect.
I like that.
Beautiful. Okay, good. Okay, so let's get a couple more things. And if we have more questions, meanwhile, I'll bring them in now while I'm looking at my notes. I just want to make sure I'm covering all the little tips we can have for you guys.
And we just want to say thank you to Leah Richeimer for doing this show, even when she's sick.
I'm
just feeling impressed right now, honestly.
Thank you.
Leave your thank you in a comment.
One of our staff members suggested a rerun, and Leah said no.
The show
must go on.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, fine. Hold on. I'm just making sure I got all of this. Okay. Another thing that. Okay. Good. Okay. So here's a.
So I have a small question
Okay.
to this. is, so I get it with the housework and all that type of stuff. Because, yeah, you're right. It's a woman's thing, whatever. But what happens when it comes to two working spouses, both working as equally as I guess it could be? And so, fine, she'll worry about the housework, get a housekeeper, or she'll do the dinners, great. But the children, they have children, little ones, and there's bedtimes and baths and things that have to be done, and it's really all falling on her. The question is, you're doing way more than your husband when it comes to the children, and it's his children too. I think he was a part of that. I don't think you had them alone. So does he get off for that also, or is it?
So what actually the statistics bear out that the increase in a man's household duties mostly went to childcare. Which is interesting. Like the time the fathers are much more involved in their children.
About like be a dad today, and you see it on billboards.
Yeah, exactly. So that has been a huge increase over the last since the 70s, and but to answer the question, men are doing more than they ever did before. Who does it fall onto? It's usually still the woman. Now, it's not that the man shouldn't. The man likely should be putting in as much. But here's the trade-off. You want an atmosphere in the home of lightness and happiness and whatever. And if mom and dad are fighting over who's giving the bath, how does the kid feel? How does the kid feel? Like the kid's like, and even if okay, we have the fight about it after or at night and they don't hear. There's still this tension that's going on there. They hear everything and they feel it. They hear. So you have to understand that the lack of serenity that it creates, that tension creates in the house, you're kicking yourself, because we know. And our sources give this out very, very clearly, that if there is peace in the home, all manner of blessing that we all want. Blessing includes, money. It includes the car not breaking down. It includes getting the new outfit you want. It includes, whatever it is that you think of sometimes you go and the books are dusty and sometimes they're not dusty. If you have shalom in your home, suddenly they're not dusty. I mean, it's that minute. It's not a joke that there's a real spiritual presence in the home that is taken care of and protected by going for shalom every time. Or even a little bit. Every step counts. In other words, if you go for a little bit of shalom when it's hard and you want to yell at your husband, you're like, for shalom, I'm not saying anything. Hashem, God, do you recognize I'm not saying anything, even though he deserves to be put in his place, and I'm so angry right now. I'm not saying anything. So all of a sudden, the doorbell will ring and somebody will give a big platter of food and say, oh, here. And you're like, no, the wrong address. Well, you can have it anyway. Whatever. I'm making stuff up. But I'm just saying that, whatever. I'm just saying that blessing will come into your home. Right. That is guaranteed. If you go for shalom and you go for taking care of your husband, there will be blessing in your home. Most of the time you'll see it. Some of the time you won't see it. Again, things that can happen behind the scenes that you don't know, but it's guaranteed that you will get blessing every time in this world. It's also guaranteed in the next world that you will reap the rewards of that. Okay, good. Did that answer that?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
fine.
Yes,
okay.
Yes,
so let me just see if we have any other points. I just want to make sure I'm covering.
While you look at that, for anyone who joined us recently, just know you can catch all the shows on our Facebook. We save all our shows and share them. I'm sure you have lots of friends who are dealing with all these same issues. If you go over to their house and you see that they're doing more and they're feeling frustrated, just send them over to the show and say, check it out.
Our Facebook page.
Okay,
go
so
to the videos.
I think we covered all the points. The last thing I would just want to say is that there is a desire of every person to want things to be fair. For whatever reason, God made us that way, and we have a little kid. It's not fair. It's not fair. So when it comes to marriage, there has to be an attitude shift. Our country has spent the last 50 years, maybe the world, the last 50 years, trying to make everything equal, because there was this, it's not fair. And they made a lot of progress. And, there's it's good. Most of it is good. There are a couple of things that came out of it that aren't so good. There's still, we have inequality in wages, which is really sad and pathetic, and there also are a lot of, in any revolution, there's always collateral damage. And so there are a lot of women out there who felt that they could have it all and gave up their life for that and never ended up having families or kids. If they didn't want to, that's fine, but there are a lot of women who, they come to me, and they come and say, what do you say to women who are, have a successful career and are 53 and never got married, and whatever, and some of them are, come to me, crying. Over the last years, I've had a lot of women come and say they feel like they were sold a bill of goods. So there is some downside to it. Mostly it's good, though. I'm not political, and I'm not an expert on that, on women's rights. But the issue that we have to understand is the very premise that everything should be equal. Maybe that wasn't, the right premise. And so I'm not saying that I disagree with it. I consider myself post-feminist. I don't know what I am. I'm not academic, so I don't know whatever. So I definitely want equality and whatever, and freedom to choose what I want to do in my life. And I'm glad for all the progress we've made. But also, I think we have to take into account that it's affected us in terms of our ability to be to fulfill our potential. In other words, is it that we want our husband to do half the dishes, that we want them to eat, do we want them to do, like that woman I talked about, does she want her husband to do the dishes just because she feels like that should be how it is and that's what women's rights fought for? Or is it she really needs him to do the dishes? If it's the latter, she really needs help. Like Sarit said, the kids are in the bath, they have bedtime routine, getting everyone in pajamas, whatever, and she really needs the help. Okay, I hear, totally fine. But there's also equal scenarios where a woman is fighting for it just because she's annoyed. So you need to each person has to examine that for themselves and have an understanding for themselves and what their needs are. See if there's things she can trade off for her husband, like being there for her in a phone call during the day rather than doing the dishes or whatever it is, the trade-off that she can make, and have a communication with her husband so he understands where she's coming from without her spending her life wagging her finger at her husband. That's
okay,
not.
So wait, quickly before, because we have like about 8 minutes, but quickly if you could just, because it happens to be this question ties into what I was asking about the kids. Now that you've said children are more of the wife's responsibility, this woman was asking, she says, what happens if you set rules for your children, like when they go to bed, when they get up, what their chores are, etc., and your husband in front of them says, it's okay, let them be. Each time it's a different excuse. It's Motzei Shabbos, I just came back from a trip, I'm leaving town, they're not tired, whatever. He always has an excuse, but he goes against your rules, undermines your rules, yes. And you just said the wife is more responsible, so how does she deal with that? Do it on one leg because you've got like 3 minutes.
Okay. Standing on one leg. Okay, fine. Yeah. So here's the issue with those kinds of things. That's a little bit of a sticky point because husbands and wives have different parenting styles. And a husband, without understanding our Masorah, which is the husband, that marital relationship of husband and wife is number one. Number one. Children and in-laws and parents and family members and bosses and whatever are not even number two. They're like number 100. They don't even come close to the importance our marriage has in our happiness right now, in our olam haba, and our future happiness and for eternity. The most important relationship is that relationship. And if there's a lot of confusion going on out there, it's very clear. There's no question that that's our 3,000-year-old tradition of making us happy in our daily life. Meaning, if you spend all your time and your focus and your energy and your priority on taking care of your children, you will not be as happy. You just won't. That's just how God created the world. Whereas if you put all that same energy into your marriage, you will have ecstasy in your life. You'll have satisfaction, and it's harder sometimes. Sometimes it's easier. Like we always say, it's easier to tidy a closet than it is to tidy our relationship. Right. So, for us to understand that relationship is number one solves this problem. Okay. So if the husband doesn't realize that his wife should come first and his wife, whatever, then he's misguided and he thinks, oh, I just want to be with the kids. What the wife has to understand, poor guy, he's working all these hours, he never gets to see the kids, and she has a tight bedtime routine, which is going to make her night easier, her tomorrow easier, her maybe if they go to bed, if they are wound up before they go to bed, then they don't sleep as well, and she has to wake up at 3 a.m. I hear all that. There's negative side impact to having, to doing things in a way that creates more shalom. But again, on a spiritual level, if she is taking care of the relationship, God will somehow make the kids sleep through the night. Somehow it'll come back to her. But aside from that, it's very crucial for a woman to be able to communicate what her needs are in a way that the man can hear. If he's communicating with her, that she is she's all upset with him. Why are you telling the kids they can stay up? What do you mean by that? If she's doing that, it's not going to be successful. Whereas if she sits him down, out to dinner, whatever, and said, listen, I want to talk to you about something. I'm really not sure what to do and how to handle this. So please help me, and please forgive me if I'm being bossy in any way. But I just wanted to say to you, I don't know how to handle the nighttime thing. If you're to tell me that it really has to be, that's the only way you can spend time with the kids and whatever, I'll figure it out. But you have to understand that when you keep them up past 9:30, my next day is completely ruined because I can't get them up for school and whatever. What do you think we can do to solve this? And, he might say, I'll help you put them to bed, or I'll come home from work earlier, and then do you mind if I work, if I come home from work earlier, and I need to go on my computer for 2 hours every night, would that be okay with you? And the wife would probably say, okay, it's not ideal. I'd rather be with you. But if that's what it's going to take to be able to get them a good routine. Again, these are all creative solutions that you need to come up together, but you're working together. You're putting each other first. Excuse me, and you're trying to solve both of your problems. It's not because he's bad and he's keeping the kids up. Poor guy, he wants to be with his kids. Thank goodness. There's some fathers who don't. So you got two problems. You got it's a matter of communication and figuring it out. And it might not be easy. It might not be the ideal solution, but in communicating it and figuring it out, that's where your solution is going to lie. Okay, we got to end off. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. This is Leah Richeimer with the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next Wednesday at 11 o'clock Pacific time.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay.